Well, howdy, and welcome to Camp Perry's Out There. We're thrilled to have you along tonight, and we want to wish all of you an incredible Merry Christmas. And we especially want to wish that Merry Christmas for our wonderful sponsors who enable us to have the show on the air throughout the year. And of course, that's Bites On Bait and Tackle and Empire. Just a tremendous crew, wonderful people. Orco Gunworks, our buddy Josh and his great crew. England Marine in Charleston, one of our favorite little towns in the Pacific Northwest. The great folks at Coos Bay Marine, and of course, my dear friend Mark and Angie Matichek from North Bend Lanes in North Bend. They want to say Merry Christmas too. And our whole crew, Mark and Angie, of course, and Mel Campbell and Ruthie and Jeff Galusha, the Sand Surfer, Dana and Stacy Mills, and of course, the wonderful Sandy and Fred Messerly, who help put the show on every week. We do it for you because we love you folks, and it's so much fun to be there with you. And what an honor to be able to talk to you every week. I can't tell you how special that is to us. We wanted to do something different for Christmas this year instead of our traditional Christmas show, and I wanted to read you a story. And it's a story I wrote about 25 years ago, and it's set during Christmas. And I wrote it for a dear friend of mine who was the pastor of a huge church in the San Francisco Bay Area. And he called me one night and asked me if I'd go fishing with him the next day because he wanted to talk. And he told me the next day that he, because of a series of events in his life, had lost his faith. And I can't imagine how tough that is for a man of faith to go through that. We had a long talk about it that afternoon over fishing rods, and then when I went home, I thought about it all night. And I got up in the middle of the night and hit the typewriter and wrote this story. And I sent it to him in the morning. It was all done. And a couple days later, he called me back and he said, he said that put me back on the right path. It really helped. And we never talked about it again. But the next time I saw him at the pulpit, that same electric, wonderful magic was there. And you could tell his faith had returned. So now as our Christmas present to you, a story that's only been read by one person. And we hope you enjoy it. It's called Moe's Coat. Would you like coffee or orange juice, sir? Asked the stewardess. At my age, they both taste the same. Surprise me, said the old man in a well-worn voice. He chuckled softly to himself, as if life could hold any more surprises when it was so close to its natural end. Who would have thought that Jerome Lefkowitz would see 85 years of age? Much less, even 80. All of the old friends were gone. All except one, Rabbi Mosiah Belstein of Chicago. On this day, the beginning of Hanukkah, he would see Mo again for the first time in 10 years. I have no faith, Jerome said in a very matter-of-fact tone as he turned towards the stewardess. In coffee, sir? She asked. No. I have faith that coffee will be coffee. I have lost my faith in what comes after the coffee, so to speak, he replied. A very nice brownie comes after the coffee, she responded cheerfully. A nice brownie, mused Jerome. If only the mysteries of life could be that simple. First you have your coffee, and then you get a nice brownie. Well, I've had thousands of gallons of coffee, and I think you only get weak kidneys from all that coffee. That brownie they're always talking about is just the tool they use to sell organized religion, said Jerome. The stewardess looked puzzled, then smiled and handed him his brownie. Keep it, miss. Otherwise you'll be responsible for a young doctor wandering around at my funeral saying, I told him no more than 6 grams of fat at a meal. Lefkowitz could have had 3 or 4 more good years if he hadn't eaten that brownie. Jerome slowly sipped his coffee as the stewardess made her way up the aisle with her auburn hair and blue eyes. She reminded him a little of Sadie when she was younger, except she was too skinny. All the girls were too skinny now, just like life seemed thinner and less substantial in this plastic world. It wasn't a rich chicken soup anymore, not like when he was young. It was an instant noodles in a 2-minute microwave world. He thought about Mo. What would he look like? What would he feel when he saw him again? Mo Bellstein, a friend for 75 years. Enough years for a lifetime. They wrote to each other in longhand every week since he and Sadie moved to Florida. That was their personal revolution against the electronic age. A 2-man, 18-year rebellion against computers and phones, texts and emails. They don't even teach cursive in school anymore, thought Jerome. And all our most important documents in America are written in longhand. After Sadie died, their weekly letters were what kept Jerome going. Their tone changed considerably, though. But for Jerome, they were all-consuming. He'd spent half the week writing his and the other half reading and rereading Mo's letters. His letters were always the same after Sadie passed. He'd ask Mo, why was she taken away? Why life should be so unfair when you're old. Then each letter would close with him railing against thoughts of an afterlife with the exacting verbiage of a confirmed agnostic. Mo's letters, on the other hand, said that each part of life had a purpose, that ugliness only served to confirm beauty, and suffering only crystallized and clarified the pleasure life held. Jerome simply felt it was Mo's job to say that. He'd like to believe it, but he couldn't. Not after Sadie's death. Mo was paid to be a rabbi, just like Al Rabinowitz had been paid to be a stockbroker. There wasn't a difference in the professions, just different scripts, and a job was a job. Jerome was asleep by the time the plane landed in Chicago, and the stewardess had to wake him. It was cold there, and he wished he had taken a heavier coat. He walked to the airport exit, hailed a cab, and got in. "Young man," said Jerome, "I have a 5-hour layover in Chicago, and I know it takes exactly 35 minutes to get to Mo Bellstein's from here. That's 35 minutes, not 45 or 55, but 35. That means I'll have 3 hours to see my friend. Do you understand?" "I am to be understanding maybe most meaning of what you are saying at me. Please to me you now be telling me where we are be going to," asked the cabby. "What kind of language is that?" asked Jerome. "Why, of course, English it is, of course, mostly," said the cabby. "How long have you been in this country?" questioned Jerome. 10 years, proudly responded the cabby. 10 years? 10 years, said Jerome. "How could you be here 10 years and not learn to speak English yet? Don't you have any respect for this country? When I came here 60 years ago, I worked on my English at sea on the boat over. By the time I got to Ellis Island, I was speaking better English than you are now. Not Aborigine, not Bangladeshi or Sumatran, but English. For you, that is being most good, and pleased for you most I know am, and I know most all the rest indeed," smiled the cabby. "Now where be going we?" Exasperated, Jerome gave directions to Mo's apartment and settled into his seat. "It's freezing in here." "Oh, so sorry, Mr. Sir. No money's to be fixing here. Just to keep engines going most good," replied the cabby. When Jerome looked up, he saw a picture of 4 smiling children taped next to the cabby's license, and he suddenly knew why there was no money for a heater. This was the sort of man Mo Bellstein would tip heavily or invite home for dinner, but not Jerome. Mo did that sort of thing because he had to, because it was part of his job, like a Mishnah employee manual. As the cab wound its way through the heart of the city, Jerome realized how different Chicago looked. Maybe it was because he felt old, or maybe it was because he was alone. He had never been here without Sadie, and despite crowds of people and the bright colors of Christmas, it somehow seemed empty and devoid of life to him. The cab pulled up in front of Mo's brownstone apartment building, and suddenly here was something familiar, even friendly. He got out and paid the cabby, telling him to be back at 3 p.m. sharp and to call for him at apartment 121. He told him twice to make sure he understood. Mo Belstein. After 10 years, he was back. So many memories flooded his mind as he stared at the steps of the building. The Thursday night card games, the philosophical arguments that dragged on until dawn, the special bottle of wine that Mo always kept hidden in the bottom left-hand drawer of his roll-top desk. He slowly made his way up the steps and then took the elevator to the 3rd floor. Jerome walked down the long hall until they came to Mo's apartment and rang the buzzer. A minute or two passed with no answer, and Jerome pressed the buzzer again. Another minute passed without a response, and Jerome began to think he may have had the wrong time, or perhaps Mo had been detained at the synagogue. He turned to walk back down the hall when a familiar voice called after him. "Impatient as ever, Jerry," offered the voice warmly. It was Mo, smiling and unchanged, looking exactly as he had 10 years ago when they last said goodbye. His dark hair still only had a touch of gray at the temples, and his brown eyes sparkled. "I thought you were gone," said Jerome. "What do you think? I'd leave and miss my oldest, dearest friend? It's a long way to my front door from where I was, and I'm not the speed burner you remember," laughed Mo. "Happy Hanukkah, my friend." "Happy Hanukkah to you, Mo. You look wonderful, better than wonderful," said Jerome. "And you look old, older than old," said Mo, as he embraced his friend in a warm bear hug. The two friends held each other for a very long time, and when they broke their embrace, each had tears in his eyes. "Terrible allergies," said Jerome as he dabbed his handkerchief at his eyes. "It's the dust in this old building," nodded Mo as he pulled out a handkerchief and blew his nose. Come in," said Mo. "You stand out here, you'll catch your death of cold, Jerry." "I have been awfully cold, old friend. I guess I just didn't bring a warm enough coat for this miserable weather," said Jerome. "Oh, we'll fix that right away," said Mo, as he walked quickly to his closet. Jerome looked around the apartment and saw that everything was the same. The big round oak table where so many card games had been played, and the dark roll-top desk in the corner. Even the wall full of glass-doored bookcases filled with volumes of wonderful stories, from Homer and Jack London to Zane Grey and Hemingway, were still there. In the far corner stood a beautifully decorated Christmas tree. "A Christmas tree, Mo?" asked Jerome. "Oh, you know me, Jerry. I believe in covering all the bases. Besides, it's for the little children who come over here from St. Michael's Church." "Do you remember this, Jerry?" asked Mo, as he helped him put on a beautiful black cashmere overcoat. Jerome looked at the coat as he slipped his arms through the heavy sleeves and knew it instantly. "It's the only piece of clothing I ever owned that I was proud of," said Mo. "Remember how surprised both of us were when she gave it to me, and how excited she was. She saved her money out of her household budget for a year to buy that 40th anniversary party present for you at the synagogue. She didn't even tell me about it. Sadie said she wanted to get you something that was just from her because she loved you so much too." Jerome said as the two friends paused to admire the coat. "I miss her every minute of every day, Mo," Jerome added softly. "And she misses you, Jerry. I know, because I had a heart-to-heart talk with her about that subject just yesterday," smiled Mo. "Oh, you don't know how much I wish that were true, Mo. I talked to her too, but I know there's no one there to listen. It's just habit and loneliness. When you die, that's it. There isn't a golden gate to walk through, no field of wildflowers to play in. It's just over." "What made you lose your faith, Jerry? Of all people." I had thought once that your belief was even stronger than mine, said Mo quietly. Because she just walked into the kitchen and was gone. We had been talking, and she was right there next to me. Then I followed her into the kitchen, and I found her lying there. I was going to tell her that fish was all right, that she should make fish for me, and that I loved her. Why fish? Asked Mo. Because Sadie had come into my study and said she had made some nice fish for dinner. I was in a terrible mood, and I told her I didn't want any fish and she could go make something else. I could see it hurt her, and I felt awful the moment I said it. I got up to go to her, and I didn't even get to tell her. I didn't get to tell her I loved her. No God would ever take someone from you when you had hurt them, steal them away before you could tell them. You've been carrying that around all these years. Why didn't you ever tell me, Jerry? Sadie's passing wasn't a punishment for you. It was her time. We all have our time. The time to be born, the time to live, and the time to enter something greater than anything we know. Sadie will always love you, and she will always know how much you love her. I used to know a heaven that was true as the sun would rise each morning. Now I no longer believe what you're telling me, but thank you for saying it, my friend, said Jerome as he looked downward, clenching and unclenching his fist. You know, I think I have a special bottle just for this occasion, said Mo brightly as he walked towards his roll top. It's not often that old fossils like us get together, except maybe at a museum of paleontology. So I think this momentous event deserves a drink. Mo pulled a dusty bottle of red wine with a dark green label from the bottom desk drawer and walked towards the kitchen for a corkscrew. He motioned for Jerome to follow and then opened the glass doors of the kitchen hutch. Grab 2 wine glasses, Jerry. This I've been saving for a long time. It is a magical port from 1945. Does that year ring any bells, my friend? Asked Mo, as he took off his gold-rimmed glasses and laid them on the kitchen counter. Of course it did, thought Jerome. That was the year they both came to America, full of dreams, hopes, and so much ambition. It was all so far away, and yet right now it all seems so close. Were we ever really that young, Mo? I feel that young right now, Jerry, he said, while handing him a full glass of the red wine. Now what is your toast, my ancient friend? L'Chaim, said Jerome as he raised his glass. Everlasting, added Mo. The 2 friends drank deeply from their glasses and stood quietly for a long while, with their silent meditation only broken by the tones of the chime clock on the mantel. Do you remember the river we used to sneak off to when we were boys? The old pier under the massive willow tree and the fish we used to catch? Asked Mo. Oh, I think of it often. It's part of the old country that has stayed clearly etched in my mind, smiled Jerry. I will always remember something you told me when we were fishing there, when I don't think you were more than 10 years old. You told me, Mo, I think this is a piece of heaven that God has given us early. It's funny, but I do remember that. After you said that, I wanted to become a rabbi. Not because my father was a rabbi or because it had been preordained for me. It was just that simple statement you made. It showed me the way to my faith. What you said that day was a truth I could hold on to and believe in more than anything I had been taught. That God gives us small pieces of heaven each day during our lifetime, and it's up to us to see them. I didn't know that was why you choose this life, Mo. Well, that's why, Jerry, and I thank you every day for it. You see, I take your simple little philosophy and I give it to everyone I meet. I tell them it's a present from the wisest man I know. You know what else, Jerry? That river is there, with that wonderful tree and the dock and fish bigger than either of us remember. I've been seeing it a lot lately, and now I know it's there in heaven, just waiting for both of us. I'm happy for you, Mo. Happy you have your faith. I wish I could see things clearly again, but my faith has faded with my eyesight. The two friends looked at each other, and then Mo looked upward and smiled, saying, I see I have my work cut out for me on this day, my Lord. You still have your amazing book collection, said Jerome, changing the subject. Yes, it's brought me a great deal of pleasure over the years. That's why I'm giving it to Father Sean at St. Michael's. Why would you give your book collection to the Catholic Church? I'm not giving it to the Catholic Church, Jerry. I'm giving it to my friend, Father Sean. Besides, I don't happen to think the synagogue has cornered all the mysteries of life. If there's anything those books and all these years have taught me, it's that no one religion is more wrong or right than the other. How does anyone know that God isn't Chinese or Hindu or a very nice-looking blonde lady? We all teach the same basic truth, whether it's a cathedral or a synagogue or a temple. But you love that book collection, Mo. Exactly. That's why I'm giving it away. It was always a temporary possession, and I was just the caretaker. Now Father Sean is starting a reading program for homeless children at the church, and they don't have the money for a library, so I'm giving them mine. You'd love Father Sean, Jerry. He wanted very much to meet you this afternoon, but a dear friend of his passed away, and he had to officiate at the ceremony. If it makes you happy to help those children, Mo, then I'm happy. Speaking of children, what about that grandson of yours? Isn't he about 15 now? I suppose. I haven't seen David in 3 years, but I'll see him tonight when I get to Seattle. We just don't have a lot in common, though. Well, how do you know if you haven't seen him in 3 years? I understand he has Sadie's eyes and he looks just like you. Have you been talking to Katie? Every week since she moved to Seattle. Katie is a good girl and a better mother. She knows that David needs his grandfather. Oh, we haven't been close since Katie left our faith to marry Paul. Sadie always kept in touch with Katie, but then, well, I know it was wrong now to demand she stay true to tradition, and it was wrong to turn her away. No one should be true to a tradition that means nothing. You weren't wrong, Jerry, but she wasn't wrong either. You need to talk to her. She needs her father, just like David needs his grandfather. Besides, who will teach them both the traditions of our faith and how to fish if you don't? But Seattle, Mo, it's cold and wet all the time, said Jerome. It's not cold if your family's there, Jerry. Besides, what do you have in Florida? Shutting yourself in a dark house with no one. Now that's cold no matter what the temperature is outside. All you need for Seattle is the right coat, laughed Mo. In a deep voice he said, God has some good years left for you, Jerome Lefkowitz, and he wants you to use them. That sounds like an edict directly from God, said Jerome. It's closer than you could ever imagine, smiled Mo. You know you need to talk to your old friends more, too. I spoke to Al Rabinowitz Monday night, and he had a message for you. Al Rabinowitz, the stockbroker? He's been dead for 15 years. Is that any excuse to stop talking to him, Jerry? He was a good friend to you. He told me to tell you to sell your Microsoft stock by the close of market today. Al says it's at a false high right now, and the bottom is going to fall out of it by tomorrow morning or something like that. Oh, that's good, Mo. But you'll have to do better than that to get me to believe again, laughed Jerome. I'm not playing a game with you, Jerry. I just want so badly for you to believe. Did you ever think about taking your philosophy a step further? That Sadie was a part of heaven that was given to you early. God wanted you to have her here in this life so you'd know, really know, how much you love her when he reunited you with her for eternity. David and Katie are a part of that eternity too. Sadie asked me to tell you that. That's the first thing you've said today that I believe, Mo. That Sadie was my heaven, but I'm afraid that's the closest I'll ever get. Mo raised his eyes skyward again and smiled. It's a start, Sadie. It's a start. It's not all we hoped for, but it's a start. She loves you every day, Jerry, every minute of every day, and she wants you to know that. And I love her, said Jerome, slowly and passionately. The old mantel clock chimed again, adding a resonant exclamation point to his statement. You could feel in his voice that he so wanted for her to hear him. Just one more time. It's getting late, old friend, and I'm afraid I have to be going a little early, and you have a plane to catch. Oh, it's been much too short, Mo, much too short, said Jerome. I know, but there are people waiting for me back at the synagogue that I have to comfort, Mo said warmly. That's my friend. Always worrying about other people, said Jerome. You know, Jerry, I had just one wish left in this lifetime, and that was to see my oldest and dearest friend again. Thank you for helping make that wish come true. You have been my brother, my father, my son, and I will always hold you here in my heart. And me, Mo, and me, said Jerome, as the friends hugged tightly once again. The two walked silently to the doorway, arm in arm. We can't wait long before we talk again, Mo, can we? Asked Jerome. No, of course not, Jerry. You just talk to me. I'll listen. Kiss Katie and that beautiful grandchild for me. I'll talk to you from Seattle tomorrow, said Jerome. You do that, Jerry. You do that. I won't even think about going fishing until I hear from you, Mo said, in a manner as he smiled. The two friends clasped hands, holding each other tightly for a few moments more before releasing their grip. Jerome turned and made his way back down the hallway to the elevator as Mo's door closed behind him. For him, it had been an afternoon like no other, and he had not wanted it to end. He so wished he could share Mo's belief, but he felt there was nothing that would ever help him except God again. The pain of Sadie's death had stripped him of the devout faith that once was his life. He pressed the elevator button and the doors opened to reveal a pleasant-looking man of about 45 standing on the other side. He had sandy blonde hair, blue eyes, and a warm smile, and he was a priest. "Father Sean?" asked Jerome. "Why, yes, and you must be Mr. Lefkowitz. I'd know you anywhere. Mo has told me so much about you." "Please, please call me Jerry," he said. "I'm so glad you come. You know, I tried to phone you these past few days, but I couldn't get through," said Father Sean. "Oh, I know. They've been working on the phone lines by my house since Monday. To make something better, they have to break it first. They've been putting the lines underground or something," said Jerome. "Mo said you had hoped to join us today." "I would have given anything for the three of us to be together, Jerry. But it just wasn't meant to be, was it? I'm so sorry." "These things happen. Trust me, Father Sean, at my age you know all about funerals." "Oh, I see you've got Mo's coat. It looks well on you, like it's at home. So then you got the overnight letter I sent you, all right." "Mo's coat? Oh my, I didn't even realize I still had it on," said Jerome as he started to take it off. No, please, leave it on. It would make him so happy. He told me the whole story behind that coat. It always meant so much to him. "Yes, there's a lot of love in this coat, Father. I don't mean to walk out with it, though. To think Mo's dearest friend a kleptomaniac," said Jerome. "You said something about an overnight letter?" "You didn't get my letter?" said the father with a stricken look on his face. "Why, no, it must have arrived after I went to the Miami airport." "Why, Father?" "Then you don't know about Mo?" he asked. "No, what about Mo?" "Well, when I saw the coat, I thought you knew, Jerry. I thought you knew. Mo passed away in his sleep Sunday night. We've been trying to contact you since Monday." "I am so sorry," said Father Sean. "No, that's ridiculous. I just spent the entire afternoon with Mo Belstein. He's fine, wonderful, better than I've ever seen him. Here, you come back to his apartment with me. I'll show you," said Jerome as he walked back up the hall. "Wait, Jerry, I know you're upset. We all are. Everyone loved Mo. You just need to sit down and rest. Let me get you a glass of water." Jerome wasn't listening. Father Sean's words only caused him to walk faster towards the apartment and call out Mo's name. When he reached the door, he turned the handle and opened it. What he saw inside caused him to fall backward and almost faint. Father Sean rushed in and grabbed Jerry, holding him up as he slumped against the wall. Mo's apartment was empty. No round oak table, no roll-top desk, no beautiful glass bookcases filled with classics. Where just a few minutes before it had teemed with warmth and life, it was now empty and vacant. "We were here. He was here. We talked, we hugged and reminisced. He was so alive," said Jerome. The mind can often make you believe what's not there, Jerry. It happens when people are in grief. It's often our way of dealing with a sense of loss, said Father Sean. "But don't you see? I didn't know he was gone until you told me. I had no idea I had lost him," said Jerome. "Maybe you sensed it, Jerry. You sensed it and you wanted him to be here so badly that in your mind he was here," responded Father Sean. "Where is his furniture, the books, his desk?" "The books are already being used at our church reading program. Most of his furniture went to Reverend Haywood's Baptist Church, and his old roll top went to Father Yi at the Buddhist temple. He had little money because he was always giving it away, but what was left all went to the synagogue. Of course, his favorite possession, that coat, he wanted that to go to you. That's why I thought you knew. I thought you had already been to the church and picked up Mo's coat. I've never been to the church. He put that coat on me when I said I was cold, and then we drank a wonderful port together right over there, said Jerome, as he walked into the small kitchen. Father Sean followed him into the kitchen, and there on the counter was a half-full bottle of port with 2 empty glasses beside it. You see, Father, you see, said Jerome. Oh, I see, Jerry. I see, but it doesn't mean Mo was here. I'm so sorry, said Father Sean, as he picked up the bottle and walked towards the sink. Suddenly he froze, dropping the bottle to the counter. Holy Mother of God, man, where did you get those glasses? Asked Father Sean as he pointed to the pair of gold-rimmed spectacles lying on the edge of the sink. Those are Mo's. He had them on before he opened the wine, and then he laid them on the sink, said Jerome. Jesus and Mary, the saints preserve us. When Rabbi Harlan and I buried him not 1 hour ago, Mo was wearing those glasses. He wore those all the time. My God, man, he did come back. Just to see you, Jerry, said Father Sean as he grabbed the bottle of port and took a deep swig. That's what I've been trying to tell you. He was here. He told me that Sadie loves me. Every day of my life, Sadie loves me, and she knows how much I love her. Do you know what that means? We'll be together again. She was a part of my heaven. My beautiful, lovely Sadie was a part of my heaven that was given to me early. Mo was right. For all these years, he was right about everything. And the fishing, Father Sean. He told me all about the fishing and the river and the fish in our pier. He even told me about, oh my God, Microsoft. I've got to get a hold of my broker before the market closes, yelled Jerome. The what? Father Sean said. Don't worry, Father. We'll sell every bit of the damn stuff. I can't stand computers anyway. It's yours, all yours. I'm giving it to you for the Mo Belstein Memorial Reading Program for homeless children. That sounds perfect. There's enough there to get every little dormouse in Chicago reading like a champ, said Jerome. That's wonderful, Jerry. I don't know what to say. This is, I think, said Father Sean, and he was cut short by Jerry, who had taken a card out of his wallet and thrust it into his hand. Call this man and tell him I told you to sell, 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 and have him make the check out to your church. Just then the cabbie walked through the door with 2 blankets in his arms. Hello, Mr. Man, sir. I come back early for you, so we not being late. I go home first to be bringing you blankets for such a terrible cold ride through city. Okay being with you? Okay being with me, Mr. What's your name? Asked Jerry. My name is being Motishi Monjava, but all of my friends, mostly they be calling me Mo, said the cabbie. Jerome and Father Sean looked at each other and burst into mixed laughter with tears. Well, Mo, we have much to do and little time to do it. I've got to find my grandson the best rod and reel outfit in Chicago. And of course, a menorah. And Katie will need a new Christmas dress for church. And you, my friend, what type of vehicle is this cab of yours? Asked Jerome. It most assuredly be a number 1 good, most all-American Chevrolet car with perfect, most excellent Goodyear radios, said Motishi. Well, my friend, your number 1 good, most all-American car is about to get a new heater. You mean it, Mr. Man, sir? A most duteous, heat-producing piece of equipment? Asked Motishi. That's right, said Jerome. Oh, Mr. Man, this is being the most wonderful, mostly incredible, outrageous Christmas, said Motishi. Father Sean, I don't know how to thank you, said Jerome. I should be thanking you, Jerry, said the father. No, I'm the one that was given a beautiful gift. I have my faith again. I need to thank you. I need to thank God and my wonderful, amazing friend, Mo Belstein, said Jerome. It's the most meaningful Hanukkah present he ever gave to anyone, Jerry. And I know it's most what he wanted you to have, said Father Sean. It's truly a miracle. We need to hurry seriously fast, Mr. Mansur, if we have so much thing to be doing, said Motishi. Let's take the stairs, Motishi. Goodbye, Father Sean. Merry Christmas, he said as he hugged the priest. Merry Christmas, most good priestly man, yelled Motishi. Happy Hanukkah, said Father Sean. Jerry and Motishi made their way down the stairs to the front door of the apartment building. It was not dark outside yet, and a soft snow had started to fall. Jerry pulled Mo's coat tightly around his neck. I love Chicago weather, Motishi, especially this time of year. Do you like brownies, big, thick, gooey, full of fat brownies? Asked Jerome. Why, they be the most perfect food this side of heaven, Mr. Mansur, said Motishi. That's right, Motishi, and we're going to eat them until we're sick, said Jerry. As Motishi opened the cab door for him, Jerome paused for a moment and looked upwards into the falling snowflakes. I love you, Sidney Lefkowitz. I love you, Mo Belstein, he shouted to the sky. The street lamps came on, giving the new fallen snow a soft, golden glow. A Merry Christmas to all of our family from yours. Christmas is all about family and love, and that's what we want you to share on this, the most wonderful day of the year. God bless everybody.